think in terms of resilience, there's a number of interesting areas that we've been thinking about. The first one is this idea of disruptive change. I think we don't know enough about what are the causes of disruption. There's often a lot of discussion and debate around financial crisis, around hazardous climate change, around demographic shifts and so forth. And I think we probably need to think of the kind of concepts, the theories, the ideas we have about trying to understand what disruptive change is all about. Because I think having a better handle on disruptive change would help us in terms of us trying to work out what we mean and how we define resilience. So I think that's one of the first things that we're very interested in. The second one that we have some concerns about is the emphasis in resilience on withstanding or riding out or bouncing back from disruptive change. And we think there probably hasn't been enough work done on issues of anticipation and preparedness. What is the sorts of things that cities and regions and localities and communities can do to try and almost insulate themselves from the kinds of disruptive changes that are adversely affecting their ability to get access to basic resources, water, shelter, heat, energy, and so forth. So I think these sorts of ideas should be important priorities for our future research. The third one, and perhaps the biggest challenge of all, is in terms of trying to address this question of adaptive capacity, because one of the key issues there is this fundamental issue of why is it that some places seem to be better able to deal with disruptive change than others. And it's a kind of deceptively simple question, but a very hard one to answer. And I think lurking at the heart of it is this issue of adaptive capacity. What is it about places in terms of the actors, the institutional structures, their ability to interpret, to diagnose what disruptive changes means for their locality or region, how they go about developing strategies, mobilising actors in the state, the public, the private, and the civic sectors to try and come together around some kind of shared understanding and explanation of the problems, and also crucially as well the shared sense of responses. So what can actually be done in public policy terms to promote and to build this kind of adaptive capacity. And I think that's a real challenge to try and have a much better understanding of what that idea means as a concept and a theory. And then I guess the last one really goes back to these distributional questions of what kind of resilience and for whom. Because I think one of the key things there is really how resilience plays out, if you like, and unfolds in the weaker economies at the local and regional levels, those that are more fragile, more vulnerable, that don't have the capacities and resources that we would expect to help them to be more adaptive in response to disruptive change. So I think one of the crucial things there is really trying to understand the extent to which inequalities in social terms, in spatial terms, within national territories, measured in terms of outcome or employment opportunities or in terms of incomes, how that makes a difference to the adaptive capacity. You know, is it that more unequal territorial structures within countries then create more problems, that it's much harder for places to respond to disruptive change if they're more unequal? If they're less unequal, perhaps does that make it more easy or straightforward, perhaps, for them to try and deal with these questions of adaptive capacity in response to disruptive change? And again, I just don't think we know enough about the concepts, the theories, the ideas, the frameworks we might use to try and begin to explore these propositions in empirical research. And maybe one further point relates to this question around the kind of normative dimensions of resilience. So from our better and stronger understandings of the idea, how can we actually connect that then into questions then about what should be occurring in terms of advising policymakers and institutions in terms of how they might build or construct adaptive capacity, how they might develop institutional structures that include the voices of civic groups, of community groups, of labour unions, of business associations and so forth, in ways that actually provide a greater degree of anticipation, preparedness, adaptive capacity to try and deal with these issues of disruptive change. Because I think there's something, there's probably one key thing that resilience scholars can agree on, and that's the fact that we will be exposed to more disruptive change in the future.